Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Patrick. I'm here from Startup Disrupt, and it's my pleasure to welcome you at this amazing online conference, which we are focusing on sustainable future, green tech, and sustainability. And what is actually Startup Disrupt about? In Startup Disrupt, we are trying to build a global marketplace for startups, and our mission is to help startups connect, support each other, and grow together. And it wouldn't be possible for us to organize events like this without our partners and sponsors who are supporting us on this journey, like CzechInvest, Grow with Google, Microsoft for Startups, HubHub, Tyinternety, and many others. Right, for today, we are having ahead two panel discussions. One is about green tech, which will be moderated by Oliver Laria, and second one about sustainability, moderated by Marek Koisz. And if you have any questions regarding to today's panels, you can ask speakers on Slido, and if you use the code SDE, you can ask the questions, and we'll try to answer them best of them. So definitely, if you like some of them, just put a thumbs up, and the moderator will pick them up and ask to the panelist. So without further ado, just have a seat, and I would like to wish you enjoy today's session. And right now, I would like to pass the word to Oliver Laria for the first panel. So Oliver, the stage is yours.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first panel discussions of today's two panel discussions, actually. And this first one will be on green tech. We have a very, very strong lineup here today, packed with amazing panelists. So if possible, throw them one by one onto the stage. I'll do a very, very brief introduction. Okay, so first we have Pedro Gaspar joining us from Portugal. So hello, Pedro.
Hey, Oliver.
Is the future business technology director. Apologies for jumping into
it's okay.
your.
Okay, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, then we have Beseda, who is joining us from not very far away from me, also from Prague, from the great Prague startup Refork. He is the head of marketing and product. Oh, then we have Karolina, who is just the hydroponic queen of Czech Republic and the startup scene, with multiple startups in this space. And last, we should have Dane, but Dane will be joining us. A bit later, and he will join us from America, so he might be possibly still sleeping or something. But yeah, we'll hear from Dane later. So let's run it one by one. Actually, first, a very technical issue. Oh, and here is Dane. Speak of the devil, and Dane is here. So hello, Dane. As I mentioned, joining us from America. So what time is it there, Dane?
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. It's 9:30 a.m.
9:30 a.m. Yeah. So if Dane was I'd still be probably sleeping. So Dane from EcoCard, ladies and gentlemen, our last panelist for the Green Tech panel, creating the final beautiful 4-man/woman lineup. So first, a slight technicality. Please, if you could mute yourself whilst you are not speaking, because I'm getting a tad of feedback from you guys. And now it's absolutely perfect. So let's take it one by one, from the first man who I very rudely interrupted. So Pedro, hello. Finally, you get your chance when I stop talking. And please, I'll do a classic 3-question introduction, so a multi-barreled one. First of all, who is Pedro? Second one, your favorite meal. And third, how would you, in your words, define green tech?
Okay. Hi, everybody, especially to everybody on the panel. It's good to be here. Who is Pedro? Pedro, it's based in Lisbon, Portugal. I was born in Portugal, but live pretty much, I would say, almost anywhere, because I live in the Middle East, I live in several countries in Africa, I live in the US. I work currently with an R&D company called SEIA. We focus on product and research and product development on state-of-the-art products, mainly related with sustainability. And I don't know, what's my favorite food? My favorite food, I mean, I live in Portugal. Everything is good here. I don't know if you guys ever been to Portugal, but it's like pretty much all the food is amazing. Honestly, I know I have a bias because I'm here and I'm from here. But again, I love food. But guys, I mean, if you've never been in Portugal, you really need to come and taste, because it doesn't matter where you land, north, center, or south. I mean, all the food is different, and it's awesome to everybody. Every kind of taste you guys may have. Last question: how should I define green tech? That's the $1 million question right now, right? Because you kind of have no real definition for it. It works like right now like an umbrella, if I may say so. That, you know, lots of companies are doing amazing work that they don't even know sometimes that it's about green tech, and others that say that it's green tech. It's not just that green, it's just tech, you know. But if I have to say something, is let's start by the I would say the simplest definition. That is, you know, it's kind of use technology to help mitigate or reverse whatever we are doing on the planet, on the ecosystems, on the environment itself. But one thing that I should say, and I want to emphasize on this, is that usually we think when we have a huge problem that tech has a solution for it. Tech for sure has a solution for it. Yeah, we do have quite a few set of solutions, really, but I would say that on this particular issue, we need to broaden the scope of that. It's not just about tech, it's also about policy, local policy, lawmakers, countries, communities to be involved. So although from my perspective, we talk about green tech, we need to have a broader scope on that, not just focus on the tech bit.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Very good response. We will definitely cover an aspect of this later as we go on. And definitely, if there's one thing you should take away from today's panel discussion, is definitely go to Portugal, taste the local food. If you go anywhere, order something called a pastel de nata, something along those lines, an absolute treat. So go for that. Yeah, I see Pedro in agreement. So fantastic. So next we have Dan the man from Prague, from Refork. So hello, Dan, and the exact same triple combo of who is Dan, what is Dan's favorite meal, and how would you define green tech?
Hey, thanks for having me. Who is Dan? Dan is a guy who left Czech Republic when he was 20, went all around the world, ended up in consulting, and then in the chemical industry, which I never thought I'm going to work for, but somehow I ended up in there. And then 2 years ago, I ended up back in Czech Republic, and I got the opportunity to work for a company that was doing something with sustainability called Refork. And Refork is basically taking the technology and combine it with waste and natural resources to make new materials and products from it. And I'm also very much, I like the concept of sustainability, but the time when I really felt in love with it was when there wasn't just about the environment, but actually about sustainability of people, because people are actually the core who builds the tech and everything behind it. And if your people are burning out and not feeling well, then you won't build any good tech. So That will come to the next, the last question as well. My favorite food is probably pancakes, even though I don't eat it as much lately. And I wanted to say pastel de nata. Actually, when I'm in Portugal, that's what I would eat. Perfect cake. Everybody should try it once. And what is GreenTech? As Pedro described, it's a combination of tech that somehow helps planet, but I would say also, for me, it's an important part of the human sustainability, and also I also have to contribute to people, because you can build the most sustainable solution or green solution, but if nobody wants to use it, it's kind of worthless, right? So you need to build good products and good services that actually can make impact, and that somewhere down the line will be able to be used by many people to make really impact. So I think the green tech should be something that helps planet and people, but also there's possibility that large amount of population will be able or will want to use that solution later on. That's my definition of the green tech.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that response as well. And actually, I will switch it up. I will make it a bit harder for Karolina. I will switch up the classic 3-question combo, just the last one, because clearly we are getting a bit of a pattern here, which is lovely to hear, that we all these 4 experts are sort of agreeing on what the concept of green tech is, so that we don't just repeat ourselves. Karolina, for you, who is Karolina? Because I describe her as the hydroponic queen, but I bet some people in the audience are just shaking their heads in absolute confusion what that thing is about. Then second of all, of course, what is your favorite food? And third, and this question will be the same for Dane, how did you get into green tech at all? What steps did you take, and what steps maybe somebody could take if they wanted to get involved as well?
Hey, Oliver, and everyone else. Thank you for having me here. Firstly, I thought you will skip me and go to Dane and then go back to me. So, who's Karolina? I'm here on behalf of GreenTech, which is coincidentally same name as this event, but our company is called with 3 E's. It has a reason, but it's for longer discussion actually. But I was born in small town in south of Czech Republic. I'm from countryside, and then I decided to do agriculture in the city. So it's not definition of hydroponic, but it would be also for the longer discussion. What is my favorite meal? It's the typical Czech meal, svíčková. It's not from the candles, but it's a really good sauce with, I don't know, the bread. How's called the bread going with this sauce?
Oh, and it's just a dumpling, guys.
Yeah, it's the dumpling, right. And the third question, it was, how did I get to the green tech, right? My background is in biotechnologies and plant breeding. So I studied Czech University of Life Sciences. So, and then I decided to set up the first vertical farm in Prague. So that's probably how I get to GreenTech.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Absolutely have to agree. Svíčková, another. I think actually you guys listening to us might come out with more tips about delicious foods from around the world to try than GreenTech tips. But if I were in the audience, I probably would not complain, because the food we are recommending is really good. But yeah, lastly, we have Dane, and the same triple question combo as we've had for Karolina. Who is Dane? Favorite food? And third, And I think this might be a bit more relevant. How did you, Dane, get into GreenTech? Because obviously an San Diego University grad, the sort of person living on the West Coast at a really good school. So you would imagine a career in consulting, a McKinsey BCG job, some sort of investment banking. But Dane, a very ambitious entrepreneur already through college, just decided to say, hey, screw management consulting and let's create awesome Chrome extensions and other applications that will help you be more green. So Dane, how did you get into GreenTech yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So I'll take those in chronological order. So Dane is a guy who got into GreenTech. I grew up here in California. I've lived in California my whole life, and like Oliver said, went to the University of San Diego. I've started, a couple of businesses in the past. Always kind of had the founder bug, the entrepreneurial spirit, so to speak. The most recent business that my co-founder and I started was an online peer-to-peer rental marketplace business. So I think like Airbnb, but for surfboards, kayaks, snowboards, drones, etc. And we built that business really because we thought that renting, in contrast to consumption, was a greater benefit for the environment, especially high plastic items like kayaks and surfboards. And so it all had to do with the circular economy. As we scaled, it just became incredibly complicated, expensive to maintain that sustainability rigor and ethos. And we tried everything. We tried to hire consultants to audit our supply chain and our processes. We tried to buy offsets ourselves. Everything was very complicated, very expensive. And so we really lived the problem ourselves. And then ultimately we sold Toy Room to a larger rental marketplace business, and then each spent a little bit of time venture investing, and then came back into it and started EcoCard. We joined forces and started EcoCard about 2 years ago now. And EcoCard is a technology that calculates the carbon footprint of e-commerce orders or consumer activity largely or more broadly, and then offsets that by offering that to consumers at checkout. We have that different, a couple different form factors for that today. We have an API we sell directly to merchants that populates our EcoCard option in their checkout flow. And then we also have a consumer product, which is in this case a browser extension, like Oliver mentioned, and it operates in the same way. But yeah, that's what EcoCard is. That's how I kind of got into GreenTech, and that's who I am. I guess favorite food. I think I gotta go with. I think I have to go with pizza. Pizza is a good one, and kind of a classic. But I love pizza.
Awesome. It's a shame. I really wanted you to come out and say I absolutely love In-N-Out, so we could have another recommendation of a local food, because guys, the third recommendation of the day, In-N-Out. If you're in Cali, go for In-N-Out. But coming back full circle back to Pedro, to the beginning, we already started venturing towards one really important topic, because obviously GreenTech, nobody can tell us it's bad for the future of our planet. It's bad for the ecosystem. However, seldom people actually go for it, because there's this like inertia in people's behavior. People just tend to stick with what they're used to. So there needs to be some sort of major systematic change about our attitudes when it comes to doing things green. So Pedro, you already started this topic. Who is driving this change to basically go green today? Is it governments with their policies? Is it actually just customer choice? And is it important that it comes from the customers, or especially the younger generation who seem to care a bit more about the planet? Is it startups? Is it big corporates that drive this change? In your opinion, who drives this change?
That's a great question, Oliver. Really, because right now it's lots of people, companies, some governments, some local municipalities. They want to do things, and one of the things that we find out is that most of the people, they it's happening, this what we call the green gap. So we have a certain intention, but then our actions don't match the intention. That's what we call the green gap. And this happens for several reasons. So the common citizen wants to do more, but sometimes he doesn't know exactly what the impact of what he already does is on the environment, or what he needs to change to make it better. And it's not that simple saying, well, I have a gas car and I'm a gasoline car and I'm going to change it for an electrical vehicle. That's it. And everything is going to be okay. No, it's not going to be okay, because it's not just about that. It's a way more about that. And some companies, they have their fleets, or they have their own way of energy efficiency on the building, but they don't know exactly how to make it better. Does my energy come from renewable sources? How does that work? It's going to be for sure. Most of them, when they talk to us, they say, well, for sure it's going to not be cheap, because green, it's not cheap. So we have lots of things going around that we need to solve before we find out who needs to lead, or a better way for us to lead. You just mentioned something that is very very dear, very important for us here. The choices that we make. How can we make better choices? How can we, have the option for, in the right moment, without any kind of attrition, to make a better option? This is something that we've been working on for the last 3 to 4 years here in SEA, and this is something that we kind of deploy this solution that helps people, in the mobility environment. We start by the mobility environment to make better and better sustainable choices on a day-by-day basis. And one of the things we learn quite a lot, but one of the things that we learned during this project, that, by the way, I need to tell you this, we just got a grant from Google from the Global Climate Impact for scaling up the project. And one of the things that it matters for our conversation here that we learn is that it's not just about our individual choice. It's not just an individual choice problem, although it starts with individual choice. But in the end of the day, what we want is a collective action. And this is why, with this kind of solution, we bring together citizens, local companies, local municipalities, and create this network that, in a nutshell, what we do is, instead of trying to compensate the emissions that we do by, doing some kind of project, we bring value by what you do not produce. So in a way, for each sustainable solution that you take in your mobility decisions on the day by day, we quantify that solution. And for every 100 grams of CO2 that you don't emit, we create a token that goes directly to your wallet. So that starts as an incentive, And then what we do is we put a hands-off approach on this. And what happens is it changes from city to city where we deploy the solution. So in some cities, local communities, they take the lead. In other cities, it's the local municipality who leads. In South America, in São Paulo, for instance, we had a strong support for local operators. So this changes. And what I'm getting at is there is no silver bullet for sure. What we need to understand is that for a local, we need to think local. We of course, the problem is global, but the solution starts local. That means we need to bring some kind of context for the solution and let emerge whoever is the right person to lead in that particular moment.
Yeah. What people tend to say is think global, act local. So
Yeah, but in the end of the day, let me just tell you this. That's a kind of, let me say, a cliche from, the world is flat and Friedman and stuff like that. I understand that, fine. But the thing is, we kind of need to move the world around, right? Because if you look for carbon markets, credit carbon markets, they kind of don't work, right? So it's like, they just don't work. So we need to think really local. We need to go to local voluntary carbon markets. It needs to be voluntary, it needs to be local, because the impact needs to be measured locally, the compensation or the rewards need to be made locally, and then you need to scale up the solution. This is at least how we think.
Fantastic. Thank you for that response. Great insight. And particularly one aspect of this that you've mentioned is obviously no silver bullet, but it's the collective actions that sort of drive this of customers. So customers definitely do, or consumers definitely do have the power. Dan, yourself working for a company, working with a startup that deals directly with customers and markets directly to customers, and obviously you yourself being very knowledgeable in this domain, currently doing head of marketing and product, and previously doing market development in other projects. What do you think needs to happen in order to have basically GreenTech be a real sort of alternative for the average customer? Because, for example, what Refork are making, I should probably explain, they are making really good sustainable cutlery for events. And I mean, maybe there could be a very slight price objection where you are literally paying small cents for plastic cutlery, but the price is still very, very small for a pair of a knife and a fork at Refork. But what do you think needs to happen for your products or products in general to be seen as a real alternative?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and I think, as I said in the first part, right? I think you need to build products that are good, and it comes back to what Pedro said, that you need to give consumers some choice. So, for example, in our industry, you have the plastic cutleries on the one side, which are not very sustainable, but they're very functional, and on the other side, you have the wooden cutlery, which is a lot more sustainable, a lot less functional. And that's where we come in with product we say, hey, we combine both the functionality and also the sustainable aspect of the product. So I think whenever you build GreenTech product and you want it to be successful, it needs to be a product that has at least same or better functionality, So that's one important part of it. In our case, we also, the whole consumer's move is also driven by regulation, because most of the plastic is going to be banned, also the bioplastic in our industry. But I think if you would look in other industries where we want to also go to, then it's about starting with the early adopters and the innovators, because they are the guys who are willing to pay for it. Because the biggest problem with the GreenTech, when you talk about very, very technical things, is that it's usually a lot more expensive than what's on the market, and it's because of the scale of the business. So, it's much more costly for us to produce a million of forks than it's for somebody to produce 1 billion, obviously. And so you need to start to getting into the market slowly. And I think what I see, a lot of people wants to kind of sell everything to everybody and get everybody to buy it. But I think we should be fine with saying, okay, now the green products are only for a certain part of the community. And as you slowly build it and it's becoming more cheaper and people get to know it and there is the functionality, and that's how you roll slowly into the market.
All right. That is really good. So I think basically it's just, a matter of not going down on the quality and functionality, even though you are going green, which I think is a really good lesson for our founders, because I think there is this like general notion that just doing GreenTech means being all Greenpeace, non-profit, like super like basic, nothing like super complex, because all the complex tech is not green. So it's really good to hear from somebody who is making this sort of merger of functionality and quality whilst remaining very, very sustainable.
And I would, add to it, it's I also see sometimes people kind of communicate a lot the fact that our service is more sustainable and more green, and they put it as the first part of the business, first part of the message. But if you look at a lot of the successful companies that are doing something sustainable, like for example, the shoe company Allbirds, they don't really tell you our shoe is the most sustainable shoe. They say it's the most comfortable shoe. And by the way, it's also very sustainable, right? So I think it's always a combination of sustainable of something. Because if you ask somebody, do you want more green cup or do you want more green energy? Everybody will tell you, yes, give it to me. But then if you tell them you have to pay double the price or something, then they're like, yeah, maybe it's actually not that important to me, right? So it's always a combination.
Yeah. So very simply show the customer a better way. So that is also a great case study. I think that sort of encapsulates everything you just mentioned right here. So Karolina, now looking at what the transition you've made from research here at the Czech Academy of Sciences, I will go even as far to say that from the very technical, super scientific point of view, you are probably the most experienced person we have here. So what source of information, be it like a book, a blog, a series of videos, or just like going and doing very scientific, quote unquote, nerdy research, what is that one piece of information, or two pieces if you're feeling generous today? What is that thing you would recommend to our now motivated founders for them to read, basically?
Well, there is always more than one sources, of course, definitely. And as you said, I'm more like scientifically driven, maybe let's say. So I use lots of sources like Scopus or ResearchGate, and I just like real data. So, but it's quite boring for, well, let's say, normal people. So from my field, because GreenTech is really large or wide industry. So I would say if you want to know something about vertical farming or sustainable farming, let's say try to read the Vertical Farm. It's from Dr. Vermoere. It's the first publication made on vertical farming or for feeding 21st century. So I would recommend this one.
Perfect. But I think what you are mentioning right here is actually really important. Also, coming back to what Dan said, because I feel like obviously people nowadays, they just feel like they can create a product and then slap on the sustainable or green tech sticker, right? But they on purpose try to avoid this whole, actually, how do I make the product like really sustainable, really green, by understanding the ins and outs, the technicalities. And I think that is a big mistake. So it's really good for you to recommend this and basically keep us grounded and help us realize that if you want to build within the green tech domain, you actually need to build something with the intention of it being like sustainable, rather than a fancy marketing push by saying, hey, we're sustainable.
Yeah, because it's always harder to make something sustainable, actually. So I think Dan can say it's always, and in my opinion, it's just start of this is sustainable way or sustainable future. We are on the beginning, so it's lots of thinking and lots of inventing, lots of time for us to go this sustainable way.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And coming back to Dane. Well, Dane, obviously you have a bunch of data with be it your Chrome extension or just like generally everything you do at EcoCard. You have a lot of data, and I think there's one big year-long event that I don't even want to mention the name of, because the video might get flagged on YouTube if I bring up the name of the cove. But obviously the pandemic, what sort of changes have you seen within like the GreenTech domain, right? Like has the pandemic, was the pandemic like positive or negative for the GreenTech space? Have people started caring more? Have people started caring less? What does the data show from EcoCard?
Yeah, great question, Oliver. I think that we're seeing, I mean, first and foremost, e-commerce acceleration was insane over the last year plus. And, what was 19%, e-commerce adoption among all retail sales right before the pandemic is now near 30%. And that's expected to jump into half of all retail sales by 2028. And so we're seeing a massive adoption, acceleration of e-commerce. And so there's no question about that. Now, as that relates to, to sustainability and to GreenTech generally, I think we're seeing a lot of really interesting tailwinds from consumers that fundamentally understand their carbon footprint as it relates to their own consumer activity. And people are becoming much more aware of that. And that lends itself really, really well to the GreenTech industry as a whole. And so I think because of that, you're starting to see a lot of interesting companies popping up that are doing a lot of great work. And I think it's a great benefit for the world. You see a lot of VC money going into GreenTech companies, and it's fantastic. I think it's becoming a really interesting space to be a part of, and it's a really hot topic, hot space right now, and I think that'll only continue to become much greater as consumers become more aware of their carbon footprint, as businesses are forced to do things in the sustainability world from their consumers sort of below them, but also above them with sort of regulatory governmental oversight or interaction. And I think that's going to be something that continues to lend itself really well to the GreenTech world doing really be incentivizing more people to be involved in the GreenTech world. And I think that's a great benefit for the environment and the planet as a whole.
Perfect. Thank you for that great answer, because again, we've had a nice sort of complementary set of answers, going from the very technical through data into actually a very sort of pathos-filled ending of actually what doing green tech means to the planet, because after all, it's not just a bunch of really interested geeks in laboratories, and this is not just a diss, because I'm a big time geek myself in terms of my engineering. So I am a part of you guys. So no shade thrown there. But yeah, just a second quick round of questions. So Pedro, obviously your scope of seeing the ecosystem is very broad. You see the really big picture. So in your opinion, right, where do you see the green tech space going? What does the future hold for green tech?
I mean, quite a few challenges, which means great opportunities. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, most of the guys that, Dan, Karolina, Dane, we are working not just about, rethinking the means, the technology, the processes, but about designing new ones, creating new ones. That's the thing. Right. So we kind of have this first wave, and this first wave of green tech kind of, trying to bring certain new pieces for old technology, old processes, old laws, and filling certain gaps, trying to, sound new, but it's not that new. It's just we are rethinking a few things. That's why one of the reasons why the green label is so expensive. It's expensive because you're trying to build or design or deploy products based on different technology and different processes that they were not built or designed from the ground up to do that. That's the thing. So the big opportunity for us there it's not just about rethinking, it's about to building from the ground up, new tech, new stacks, new solutions, new products, not just adapting the ones that we previously. And this requires quite a few to overcome quite a few challenges. It's not just about bringing bringing. Let's grab just a quick example, right? So let's say we bring artificial intelligence to the mix. How can artificial intelligence help us, in designing and thinking about these kind of new products, new solutions? My point is, we just look to the end result. But if, again, zoom out and think on AI in a broader scope, right, in a bigger scope, what kinds of means, what kind of resources it uses, what kind of energy consumes, the whole supply chain. What does that imply? And this applies not just to AI, to everything. So when we look at in that way, we really need, it's not just a transformation. We need to rebuild from the ground up if we really want to achieve the main sustainable goals that most of the countries they are doing. And some of the countries who lead, like the US and the European Union, are putting out bills to do exactly that. It's not just about adapting, it's to rebuild from the ground up, from scratch, because what we have right now, it's not good enough for the time frame that we have, And just one more thing, when some of the critics come back saying, well, there is no just, we don't have time, there is not just enough time to achieve the results that we need. Let's make a quick remember about a year ago, when if you ask any pharmaceutical if it is possible to develop a vaccine in a year and inoculate like over 1 billion human beings in a year, from scratch, they will say, no, that's absolutely impossible. No, it's not going to happen ever. And here we are. So I think it's pretty much the same thing on our end. They say it's impossible most of the things, but it's not, man. We just need to keep pushing, and it will happen.
Perfect. Thank you. That is great motivation. Now, onto Dan, who took a long road travel to some place else. It's almost like he's coming to visit me a couple of blocks away. But Dan, I think from a sort of product market fit standpoint, right? From that sort of point of view, I think you might have the hardest job on the panel, because I feel like Karolina, she is very sort of her product resonates with like the very interested technical community. Dane is building a very sort of social product that sort of lends itself quite naturally to like one's customer experience. But what you are doing, Dan, is very like disruptive. It doesn't really like complement another solution. It basically fights for attention in a really cool space, in a really cool way. So what advice from your experience working with product, doing customer development previously, what advice would you give to a founder who wants to innovate in this field of green tech?
Yeah, sorry, I had to take a detour because they are screwing something near my other office, so they decided to do it right now. I don't know why. I think, and that maybe goes a little bit to Pedro, what's also one challenge, and what I think people should do more in this space is sustainability is really complex. If you will ask each one of you what is sustainable and what's not, you'll probably come up with a little bit different answers. Because there is also not enough data. So what I think is important is being transparent about, okay, we are doing something sustainable. We have some hypotheses here. We have some preliminary data, because we probably don't have all the data yet, because it's a fairly new industry, even in our industry. We work with new materials that don't have very good LCAs, for example, yet. But we have the hypothesis that they will get there, right? So I think what's important when you build this product is just be very transparent and communicate this complexity, because oftentimes when we talk about sustainability, we kind of say it like it's black and white, there's climate change or this isn't, but there is a whole range of kind of opinions about it. And that's what I think is important to do, to educate the market, be very open about it, and discuss with everybody and say, okay, we know where we're really good at this. For example, I give you an example. One of our materials that we buy, we have to procure from China or US. And there is no way to buy it in Europe right now, but they will be in 3 years. So that's good. Otherwise, we do everything local. But that's our shortcoming, and we know it, and we have some strategies to come up with it, and we are very open about it. But I feel like a lot of the people in the GreenTech, when they build a product, they really just want to say it's the most greenest, best, most sustainable product. But that's not the reality. There's always some shortcomings. So, let's be open about it, because if we are not, then also the market, the people are actually losing the confidence in other people that are building the other GreenTech or sustainable products.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you for that. Again, I knew I was asking the right person with relevant experience of building a product that is quite disruptive, dare I say, but amazing. So definitely check out Refark, guys, if you're ever at a festival. If festivals ever do come back, I'm pretty sure Refark will be there. Karolina, now you mentioned great insights into learning about GreenTech, but obviously GreenTech, we mentioned multiple times, a big industry. You mentioned vertical farming, but there's so much more. You obviously have electro voltaics probably, and a bunch of stuff. So in your experience as our very insightful scientific, technical person on this panel, what are the biggest opportunities today showing themselves in the field? So is it farming? Is it more the solar energy route? What, in your opinion, are the biggest opportunities?
Well, in my opinion, there is in every kind of field or industry there is opportunity, because in the future we will go this green way. There's no way it's gonna happen otherwise. So I think that this transformation from the tech to green tech, let's say, as we are talking about it through all discussion, it's happening linearly, let's say, and it's gonna be lots of opportunities in this field, or in this field of each industries. So there is a really big hype of vertical farms, or electromobiles, also renewable sources of energy. Everyone is going this way, and every company, every government, even people like me or you, we are trying to eat differently that our parents, for example. So I think everywhere is opportunity. You just have to grab it and go.
Yeah. Brilliant advice. Opportunity is everywhere, and basically the industry overall is clearly growing, as all of these guys have shown today. And lastly, Dane, so now we understand what GreenTech is, because you guys explained it brilliantly. You've read the scientific articles, you went into the lab, you've set up your company, you started building for the early adopters. You are convinced that the GreenTech space will grow further. And now you basically have a product that you are sort of marketing, right? And you, as somebody who is involved with e-commerce stores, obviously it's all about marketing over there, and you yourself trying to convince the e-commerce customers to basically think about, okay, CO2, this is what this is your fault, quote unquote. Sort of what sort of marketing like twist or what way should we educate the customer to basically go green? Is it the prospect of changing the planet, or is it more of the twist that, hey, you created this, what you are doing currently isn't good? What sort of angle do you think is the best to educate anyone nowadays?
Yeah, it's a great question. We see a lot of brands that are doing a lot to educate their consumers today, and that's part of what our solution does. And so integrating EcoCart into your entire customer experience, not just as a checkbox at checkout, is a really important thing to do. Because there's so much benefit that comes along from a marketing perspective, like you mentioned, from having these sustainability initiatives, including long-term customer retention, brand loyalty, increased cart conversion rates, et cetera. Some really tangible effects of incorporating sustainability into your brand. And because of that, we see a lot of brands today doing a lot more of the consumer education piece throughout their entire customer experience, because it's a really important part of their relationship with their customers. So that's what we're seeing today. It's kind of how we facilitate, what we help, and I think that's only going to continue to increase as it becomes really more of a demand from consumers versus just more of a nice to have.
Yeah, that is actually a very, very sort of interesting thought that we can maybe connect back to what we mentioned previously about basically customers having the power. But yeah, all great benefits also for the businesses to also take charge and not just leave it to chance. So I think it as Dane has demonstrated over here, if you want to do something positive, if you believe in the space, also include sort of the green aspect, but actually like a very tangible green aspect into your product, rather than just marketing fluff. And definitely install EcoCart, reach out to Dane. So yeah, but I think I will slowly wrap it up. So thank you to all of you guys. You've been absolutely amazing. I think we've covered this topic very, very well, I believe. So hopefully we've motivated a bunch of listeners, a bunch of viewers to think more about the future of our planet and what impact we can have if we build our products and businesses basically the right way. Because even if we don't, I think, as you've demonstrated, that there is a single direction for the green tech industry. And once it goes beyond that point of no return, if you haven't thought about green tech before that point, you are basically lost. So thank you guys. You've been absolutely amazing. And please, if you guys want to reach out to these guys, I am absolutely 100% speaking on their behalf, because they didn't agree to this, but I think they seem very, very lovely, that they will be willing to take any questions you might have on LinkedIn or on email if you reach out to them, because again, they've been absolutely brilliant. And I want to thank every single one of them and every single one of you, dear viewers, for listening to us. And now I will slowly hand it over to the second panel discussion focused on sustainability.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Good evening. Good evening.
Hi, everyone.
We are still waiting for one of our guests. So let's give it 1 or 2 minutes. Ondrej is here. Good evening, everybody. How are you feeling? We chatted together like 45 minutes ago, so I hope you had a time to, grab yourself a comfortable chair and hopefully some nice drink. All right. So I think without the further ado, I will start because the time we actually, the previous panel was a little bit longer. So I will just briefly start with my introduction, and then I will jump into the panel discussion. Obviously, I will first introduce the guests as well. And the way I would like to go about this interview or discussion is that I will ask in the beginning just some personal questions, and later on we will move into why we are all excited about sustainability into more practical and business-oriented questions. So I'm already very excited about this for a long time. And so to introduce myself, I'm currently a business development innovation lead at Impact Hub Prague, and I'm also an independent associate of the Natural Step Advisory Alliance that focuses on strategic sustainability and planning and innovation practices. And previously, I spent some time in South Chinese Greater Bay Area, where I did startup consultancy on rapid prototyping, and also I co-founded several tech companies on my own. So this is just a little backdrop on me, and the reason why I'm so excited about the fact that today our guests, they have amazing diverse background from impact investment to business consultancy to design. So for all of the listeners, I believe that you read the intros, but I will just take it quickly. We have here Cyril, that's the CEO and co-founder of DUCT, which helps to reshape urban mobility integration issues. And also, he is the ex-country manager of the Interaction Design Foundation that I found out just lately. And I'm very excited about it because I realized that I think I saw some lessons on that platform from you. And I just didn't realize that it's actually you who I'm going to talk to. So this is one of my little surprises for today. Then we have here as Cyril Klepek, who is the founder of Circle. I think that most of our listeners will perhaps know you because you have been very active in the community, specifically lately. And also we have Silke Horakova, who is the co-owner of Albatros Media and also co-founder and partner of Telia Impact Ventures. And last but not least, we have Ondrej Rybka, who is the senior manager at PwC Czech Republic, and he's also passionate about sustainability, not only the business development and consulting. So this is the lineup of our amazing guests tonight. And as I promised in the beginning, there has been a lot of discussion and panels, and some people like to call it the talking heads, which unfortunately we are today a little bit of a talking heads. There is not much of other parts of our body that's easy to see. But I would like to give it a little different spin today because we chatted a little bit with our guests before. The angle, instead of talking about concrete solutions and talking about success stories that are all around, I would like to get a little bit deeper into the questions of why. How did it happen that you turned your career into leaning more towards sustainability? And before I do that, I will just kick it off with a couple of personal questions to each one of you, and then we will jump into the conversation. So if you are all okay with that, I will start with Silke, as we say in Czech, ladies first. So Silke, through one of our friends, I get to know that you are originally from Germany, and you decided to stay in Czechia. And obviously, we all know that the situation with COVID is, very different. The way we're handling it in Czech and in Germany. My question to you would be, how do you feel about your decision right now at the moment? And what was actually the original decision? Like, how did you come into, being comfortable to staying in Czech?
How did I come to the Czech Republic?
Well, more about the decision to decide of staying in Czech rather than Germany.
Well, that's a very long story, and I guess that would involve my husband for this discussion, because I came here for private reasons like more than 30 years ago, and it was exactly during the Summit Revolution, actually, which was by chance, because we met, of course, earlier, and it happened to be the case that I landed in Prague in October, end of October '89. So exciting time. And so to be frank, I don't ask myself anymore if this was the right choice or not. And in the meantime, I have also acquired Czech citizenship, which was a long, long way to go. So I feel really, let's say, home here and in between the states and the cultures.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing. I would take another question to Chatter, because I know that, this 45 minutes ago when we chatted, I felt like you are quite passionate about the question why actually it's important to talking about impact and sustainability. So my question to you would be, where was the point in your life when you actually get so passionate about this approach instead of just going along with your life and just doing a typical business?
I think it's a process that you get used to. Instead of just one day and one aha moment when every heroic story has. In true life, it's always a process that you learn and grow into. I have a design background, and as designer, you always want to create things. And in school, there is something that they teach us that we need to forget when we start the professional life, is that we are not only the ones that are responsible for creating things. Everybody has that ability. And when you get into the professional life, you realize it much better. But I also realized making something is around 10% responsible of the success of that execution. The 90% is more about why you do it. And why you do it, when you say it this simple, can go to wrong way. So let me break it down a little bit, the why question. It is never, well, in most cases, it happens to be to try and make money, but it is never the why, it's always a result, if you had the right why. So as a design background, I realized instead of trying to make things people like, we need to make things people need. And to find what people need, there's a very good process to go down the rabbit hole and understand what is the real reason behind these things, and then solve that issue. Let me give you a marketing example. I really love this example. There's this company who was selling milkshakes, I guess, and then they wanted to sell more. Long story short, the marketing campaign didn't work, and then they worked with a design thinking agency, and it turns out that people are buying these milkshakes because it's on the way from home to work, and then they didn't have time to have breakfast. So this was a very good high sugar product that they can consume instead of breakfast. And they said, let's make the pipes in the drink thinner sectioned so that people can consume them in a longer term, and that the other people in the office can see these things being drink so that they can buy it as well, and the sales go up 80%. Sales go up 80%, that's the end result. But the main thing that they solve it is why they want to solve it. What's the problem behind there? What's the real reason why people are consuming this thing? And then let's get into that and solve more people's problems. I think this is when my passion started, and I applied that ever since. And then later on during the conversation, I would like to give you more examples about the actual situation and how we apply to this professionally as well.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. That's very interesting. I also have a bunch of other questions that kind of now flying in my head, but I will keep it for later. I would like to ask you, Ondrej, Ryba, I liked your LinkedIn quote. You said, or it's written, trust in society and solve important problems. I would like to ask you, how did you get into that quote, and why do you like it so much?
Yeah, this is very nice quote, which was let's say invented by our marketing department, I would say, not by me, but I think that I am very aligned with that. And when I started doing consultancy work about maybe 11 or 12 years ago, I was young, and I was more focused on paperwork, I would say, and doing really projects which were finished by some paper, some I don't know how to say it, but nothing which would be really material for me. That's why I, after 2 years, left PwC and spent about 3 years in Africa and Mongolia, and I was doing there quite interesting projects, built a dairy plant and brewery plant, for example. And this gave me quite let's say, a lot of experiences and made me a manager, I would say, and helped me to really find out how to let's say, find what is really important and how to solve the problems, which seems to be really important, because the people who were living in these countries had to deal with a lot of problems every day. And since that, I came back and started, let's say, developing a sustainable department in PwC and doing projects in this area. So this was quite a big change for me, because I started as a IT consultant, basically.
Thank you for sharing. That's a radical change, and I'm actually looking forward to hear more about pieces of that story later on, hopefully. All right, so just to finish the round of some personal, let's say, introductions, I would like to ask you, Cyril. I know that you are looking forward for that question. I told you I have a special one for you.
I do.
So I heard that you actually have, you're coming from a big family, and supposedly you have a lot of sisters. Is it true?
That's true. The number is 5, actually. It's just 5. Public. Yeah.
Amazing. And my follow-up question on that, you know, people talk a lot about how the childhood influenced their later success. And obviously you are now a very successful man. And my question would be, how do you think that the childhood growing up with so many sisters influenced you and hopefully help you with your success?
I wouldn't say I'm a successful man, but it gave me a couple of lessons, that's for sure. I'm also quite a lot into design thinking as Cagri, and the empathy part, to be able to understand, listen, and to see actually the world around you is very important. And because my sisters were very talkative, I had to listen a lot, especially in the first couple of years. And it gave me a lot of lessons about how to really listen and how to gain empathy. That's super important also in business, because we really try to use design thinking as much as possible. And very often, you know, I'm a big fan of GreenTech, but it's very often lacking the personal approach. So it's super important to really have a good empathy, and it's some of the lessons learned from my early childhood.
Thank you very much for sharing. I can relate to it just a little bit because I have 2 sisters, but I think I went through similar, lines of lessons of listening and getting more into the empathetic side of design thinking. All right. So thank you very much, all of you, for sharing. And I would like to, transition a little bit more into other questions I prepared for you. Today's theme is obviously sustainability, but that's such a broad topic that we can just literally slice it the way we want, and we can just keep on talking about it for forever. What I would like to do is I would still like to maybe ask you one more personal question, and then it might not be related to the fact that you actually turn later on into this theme as something you pursue and you are passionate about, because a lot of the times people talk about, success. Everybody talks about the success, but I would be interesting to ask you, how has a failure or apparent failure set you up for later success, and at the position where you are right now? Can you share with us, favorite failure of yours? And I will lead it up on you, who will be the brave one who will pick up the torch first.
Should I take it?
Go ahead.
All right.
You are the brave one.
Yeah, well, I don't think so. It's equally bright. It's just people are more polite to just let others go first, I guess. The failure in the business side or generally in life, Marek?
I think that the most interesting part would be here because you both, all of you guys, you are now in a path that you wanted to create, positive impact in society or an environment or both. And I think that the fact that you have this burning passion comes through some decisions. And, it might be some turning point, might be some failure before that was maybe part of their decision making. So from my perspective, I don't mind if it's a business one or personal one. Pick the side you like more.
I think I'll give an example from the business side. And I think it does somehow touch sustainability topic. I had a pretty long corporate life before I started the startup life. And it didn't go as in like in one day. I had like 12 years, 13 years OEM tier 1 in automotive, and then 1 year of startup experience back to tier 1 for 1 year and then startup again, right? So there was like a transition period. That 1 year of startup, the first trial I had, my biggest mistake was just because I think it was the first time that we tried, that we lost focus on what we were doing with the people that we were doing together with. And I think that was the lesson that I picked up. And then when we started with what we're doing right now, staying in focus, whatever come your way, has been one of the things that I continue on applying. Every day, the first thing that I care about doing is putting one foot in front of the other one, focusing on that first step first, and then continue on. And I think that's why I said in the start, I think it has something to do with the topic sustainability as well, because something sustainable is something that goes on forever in a continuous manner. And I think this is one of the important topics that lies under that logic. Staying focused.
Thank you. I can definitely relate to that since I've started a couple of startups on my own. And if somebody would tell me beforehand what it would take, I sometimes think backwards if I would make that choice to do this irrational decision of being an entrepreneur. All right. So what about the rest of you guys? Did you thought about the question?
I gave you time. Come on.
Thank you very much. I can follow. I already mentioned it in the discussion previously. Right after my graduation, I was really ready to save the world, and I was thinking, because I was always into politics, and I was thinking that's the way how to change the world. We will have better politicians, and they will take care of us, and everything will be great. So I went after graduation. I started a PhD. I started working in the Ministry of Finance for Mr. Babiš, which is really funny. And I was thinking I will be really helping municipalities to better manage their finance and everything and so on. And it just turned out after 3 months that actually there's nothing to do. No one is reading my analysis, and it was really painful, very short, but very painful experience. And I really admire people who actually stay there, and it's super important, but I was not able really to do it, not a single day. So that was very short, but very painful experience with the public administration. And I'm really happy that I'm for meeting people who are brave enough to be still there.
That's a great example. I have also a lot of admiration for that. Somebody told me that being in politics or being a politician, it's like standing with the feet in the hell and having the head in the clouds.
Yeah, kind of. I can imagine that.
Yeah. So, what about rest of you guys? Did you decide it, Ondrej or Silke? Who want to take the lead?
I'm not sure if it's a failure story from my side, but I can tell you what happened, how I related to impact investment, because it was for me somehow a sudden change in my life, which happened on one day. I can exactly describe it. And it was, I'm a financial investor. It's my profession. And I was also leading the Czech Private Equity and Venture Capital Association for a couple of years. And on behalf of this, I was attending a BVCA, which is the British Venture Capital Association, a large conference in London in 2011. And well, nothing, the usual stuff. And then one woman, you know, started a presentation about British Ventures, which was actually the first social impact fund in Europe. And that was an eye-opener for me. I suddenly realized that it's possible to do social good and still make some good return on these investments, to combine the both things. And I decided for myself, that's what I want to do. So I went back to the Czech Republic, and it was 2011, and there was nothing to invest in. So actually what we did, I really got with my future partner, not my life partner, but my business partner, Petr Vítek, the co-founder of the Impact Hub. We got in touch and with other stakeholders, and we engaged in building the ecosystem for social enterprises. So there were a couple of accelerator programs, some of them still exist. And then, you know, one day, and it was because some large foundations intended to go into impact investments, and we sat together because it's a small market, everybody knows everybody. And I said, look, I have these guys, these fantastic guys from the private equity and venture capital community, these great investors, and they're philanthropists. And you want to go into this. Let's combine this. Let's combine forces. And that was actually how Tilia Impact Ventures was born. The professionals are now on our investment committee side, and the two foundations were our first key investors. So that was my story, and I'm still with it.
Very nice story. It doesn't sound really like a failure story indeed.
Not really, but a change story, let's say. Nothing wrong about it.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for sharing. I think it's, to me, I feel that, so first of all, I'm happy that you mentioned the Bridge Ventures. I was also inspired by Sir Richard Cohen, I think is his name.
That was one of the founders.
Exactly. So that's also one of the thought leaders that really deeply inspired me. And through one of my mentors back in South China, I got introduced to his thinking and writing and his pioneering practices in impact investment, basically, in Europe. But in the modern world, let's say, it was like a global leader, I would say. Or maybe he is still, who knows? So thank you for that sharing. And what about you? What about you, Ondrej?
Okay, I will maybe mention two cases. First one, I thought it was a failure, but from what Cyril said a couple of minutes ago, it's maybe a winner, because I was applying for a job at the Ministry of Finance. It was a first basically job I tried after graduation, but they did not choose me after 3 rounds. They choose. So, but as you said, after a lot of experiences I have with the public sector, I am glad that I did not succeed. But and maybe second thing was that I was a mentor of 2 startups during one project made by Impact Hub, and I did not won last year and the previous year as well. So my startup wasn't selected. So that's something I'm taking really personally, because I put a lot of effort in that and wasn't successful.
Thank you for sharing. I can also relate to this from, through one of my failures. Actually, there's a list of it. Fortunately, this night is not about me, so I can share it just briefly. I remember the first time when when my startup failed, I was really down, and at that time, one of my mentors, he sent me a quote, which was, I don't remember exactly word by word, but it says something like, all of the hardships set ordinary people for extraordinary destiny. So I just want to wish you and hope for you, Ondrej, that you are part of that paradigm, and I believe that it's just a preparation for some future success in that section or area. All right, folks. So I would like to segue a little bit more into the theme of sustainability and the way I look at it, or the way I would like to actually ask the question is, I know that we might have a lot of smart, driven people who are, who might watch this stream, and obviously, as I said before, the word of sustainability it's large and huge. So I will give you can choose from two questions. One is, if a smart, driven person, is really curious about to enter the world of sustainability, what advice you would give them? And if you don't like that question, I will put it another way, and I would say, what commonly preached advice or wisdom about sustainability they should ignore, on the other hand? So pick one or the other, the way you like it. And I see that Cyril is, smiling, so I will just give him a mic.
Yeah, I'm smiling. Yeah, I think I would choose the first one, and I would say that it's really painful process somehow, and it's really good to choose something that you are very passionate about, because there's a lot of challenges you need to tackle down, and also be super open-minded, because we are usually very wrong in the beginning, and the sustainability is very complex things, and the more I'm into it, actually, the more I'm confused sometimes. So it's really super important to be open-minded, and it's not just about approaching the sustainability issue with a concrete one solution. That's the perfect, everybody's gonna love it, but more like, wow, this is a problem I want to solve, and there might be a couple of solutions. Okay, let's start with this one, but start really with the area you really think something's wrong. I want to do something about this, and then try to approach basically shooting arrow after arrow, and then you might find a good way. So yeah, that's something I would say myself also.
Thank you. So it sounds to me, if I summarize it, basically there is some homework to be done about everybody to kind of really understand what they are really passionate about. And the second thing, what you're saying is find really the problem, solve the problem, or trying to, niche down into problem you want to solve. Is that true?
Yeah. And the second one is really a problem, because sometimes we are talking about problems, but it's a really minority of the problem of the global change, the climate change we are now experiencing, right? So it's has to be worth it, really, to spend a part of your life onto it. And there are big problems to be solved. So
that's a good advice. Find the problem. It's worthy to, it's worthy of your time, basically, to be solved as well. And it's big enough so it actually brings some change. All right. What about, I'm interested to...
Can I make an addition to what Cyril, because I have very similar opinion. I just wanted to say, if we talk about sustainability, I mean, one thing we can all agree about is that we want to give the world to the next generation in a better shape, or not, at least not to compromise the next generation with what we are doing wrong here. So let's improve the world. But when we had the word sustainable development, that gets a little bit a different meaning as well. And it's something what we understand social impact investors as sustainable development, because then it brings into the game much more. And it's not only about environment, it's much more also about, let's say, improving the life of societies, the quality of life across the globe. And development means progress in societal development, in progress. So that means, that refers very much to the Sustainable Development Goals as adopted by the United Nations in 2015. And among these goals are, of course, environment, climate challenge, and so on, but also ending poverty, hunger, ensuring good health, well-being for all people on the mankind, or achieving gender equality. So it's, for us, it's a much broader expression. And that refers very much to what Cyril said, go in the direction where your heart is actually, where your passion is, and engage and just start. That's the most important thing.
Thank you, Silke. You wrap it up amazingly. I like the way you put it. And I think it's also important for our listeners or viewers to really get to understand that sustainability is not that much as a industry. it's more about, I would say, like rather a philosophy how to do things differently, or it's more about how to do things than rather doing one specific thing. So the systemic view or approach is definitely important, and people should actually really, if they are interested in sustainability, they should not hurry up, but actually really explore what it means and how it can be applied in their field and in their passion.
Can I comment on that? I think there is something to add as well. I will go with the first question as well. I think there's also a very important aspect that sustainability itself as an industry is not sustainable right now, and that's why it's having a lot of pain in the business development side of things. Because, let me give you an example. Green concrete that sucks carbon out of the air is much better option, right? Because why not? Let's do that. But it's much more expensive right now. That's why we're not being able to do that. So there is all this business side of things that makes it unattractive for the industry, for it to go into scale. It is very simple. When you want to buy a drink and there's a market that's close by that has that drink, and there's one that's further away, we people go to the close market, right? Because that's a shorter distance to walk. It is in human nature. We choose the simple option. We all know, especially here or the people listening, we all know sustainable option is the logical option to go in the long run. There's no debate on that, right? I think it was Charlie Munger that made this comment recently about some other topic, but it fits perfectly here. He said, the people who ask the questions think they have the answers, right? So I don't have the answers, obviously, for the sustainability, but I know for a fact, since this is Startup Disrupt and there's startups here, a business has to make X amount of money when spending Y amount of money. If your X is bigger than Y, you have a business, right? Which means that if you're going sustainability business sector and you want to create the impact that you'd spent all your life into, make sure that you have that XY down so that you have a business as well, so that you can create that impact, because the industry itself is still a man-made machine. So it is functioning with the man-made rules, which is choose the simple option, choose the efficient option. But I am so sure that the sustainability options are also going to come there too. And that's why we need these kind of events. That's why we need startups to find those ideas that has that business touch as well, so it can be inevitable.
Thank you very much for sharing.
Something important.
Yeah, I love the conversation. Honestly, I would love to just sit down and get deep into that topic, because it touches all of the side from the startup world, obviously, that you mentioned. This is very important. And also it comes together with startups, cannot work without the investment. So in this case, impact investment. So I think these both sides need to be in certain stage and maturity to really...
Yeah, investment is not going to go towards there unless it is totally checking all the boxes that they're looking for. In some cases, it is not only making profit. There is also targets to hit in the green agenda as well. But yeah, there's always also the money effect, yeah. Obviously.
Exactly. Good sharing. So what about you, Ondrej?
I would say maybe that everyone should avoid greenwashing, because this will not help none of us within our efforts. So focus on problem you really don't like, or something you really don't like and which doesn't look sustainable from your point of view, and try to change it.
Definitely. Thanks for sharing. I'm not sure right now, because we hit the 8 hours mark and there should be another section, but because we started later, I would just try and ask you maybe a last question around, and we will see if they will cut us off or if they will allow us to go on for a few more minutes. I think what I will be interested to ask you is, given let's imagine the scenario that there is a huge billboard in the middle of a highway, so there's a lot of exposure on that, and you have the ability to put any sentence on that board as a message to the world. Let's say, what would be the message for you that you will leave our audience with in that case?
I would have there like, you know, do it right, right? Like a Nike logo, do it right, because you know, a lot of problems we are now experiencing is because we have, you know, very bad products, you know, very badly, you know, with very bad logistics, you know, with a lot of externalities, negative externalities, and I think it's super important. Not just, you know, working on super high tech technologies, how to get CO2 from the atmosphere, but, you know, start actually doing it really right. You know, having right products and design and right, so they actually can serve you 5-10 years. They can be repairable, so we can actually pay as a service, not just one time. You know, and there are so many areas we can see in the big companies that they are wasting their materials. On one side, for example, they buy a lot of materials, they pay like crazy amount of money for it, and, you know, just a couple of hours, something like waste, and they just pay someone to get rid of it, right? And just one small stupid things, and there are so many of them, right? I think we need to repair our economy and start with this, and then we might move to some super tech solutions, how to get a carbon down to the earth. But, you know, do it right. I think it's super important for us at the first time.
Thank you. I can definitely see the you know, political influence in that. I already see the billboard with your face and like, do it right. So, thank you for sharing, Cyril. What do you guys think? Who else would like to share what will be the campaign?
Just so it fits with the message itself, I would just choose one word and then I would just write in big letters, focus.
Focus.
Yeah, because
that's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to reach to your goal, and if you find your why, and if you want to solve that, it's a long journey, obviously. But during that long journey, you're gonna come across a lot of things, and there's 3 very important assets for a startup. That is the people, time, and money, and any of those cannot be wasted if you want to reach your goal. So we need to focus in all 3 of those fronts.
I like that message. Thank you. What about you, Ondrej?
Yes, I'm doing quite a lot for automotive industry right now. I would say that electric doesn't mean sustainable. Not all the time.
And now give it a little
think
explanation.
about that. A little bit of explanation is that it's more problematic area. I would say everyone who thinks about let's say buying electromobile this is not, let's say, something and very easily said like a sustainable thing and sustainable approach, and it's more complicated discussion behind that. So everything what is electric doesn't mean that is sustainable. That's what how I meant it.
That's interesting. That's interesting thought as well. I know as well from the fact that I spent a couple of years in South China, in the Shenzhen, which is like the capital of IT or electronics. Like more than 80% of worldwide electronics it's made in the Greater Bay Area. I remember that so many discussions, was fueled by the belief that the tech gonna solve all of the problems. So I like your poster as well. And Silke, I would be happy if you can close it up and tell us what your billboard would be about.
Well, I would say if you are a social entrepreneur and you want to solve a social problem, including environmental problems, if you're the kind of personality like Cyril, and if you have high ambitions, then come to us and we will help you drive your impact.
So that will be quite a long message.
Yeah.
But it's okay. It's a big billboard, so I believe that it
have ambitions. Have ambitions. I think because we see many projects which lack these big ambitions. Because you can do it, you have to start it, and you have to get help and support and all this. But you can do it. But you have to have this drive, the ambition to scale your solution. To make it really big, and that's important. If you want to make an impact, I think we should have big ambitions.
I like that. thank you for the motivation, as a last point. And I would like to see, I hope that, I come back to Czech Republic after several years in abroad, but I hope that one day I will drive along the highway and I will see some kind of posters like that along the way. I can, so from our side, thank you very much, all of you, for, contributing to this very interesting discussion. For me, I really enjoy it, and I hope you too. And I believe that one of the moderators from Startup Disrupt should jump in, and is right here. Okay, good timing, good timing. So thank you very much one more time to all of the guests. It was a pleasure to see you and have a chat with you. And now I will give it back to the studio.
Back to the studio. That is my room. What a fancy studio I have right here. And I have to tell you guys, 2 amazing panels. Hard to basically decide which one was better. Obviously, I might be a bit biased because I took part in the first one. But it's not a competition over here, nor is the next part a competition, although it might seem like it, because we are having some really, really amazing startups pitch. Probably my favorite part of every Startup Disrupt event, because, oh boy, I do sure love a good pitch. So we will take these startups one by one. They have 3 minutes, the classic elevator-ish. That's a pretty long elevator to take 3 minutes, but elevator-ish pitch. Then 5 minutes of questions and very, very deep and technical in and out sort of roasting of our pitchers. And then it's on to the next one. We have 4 of those. So get ready, grab some popcorn. You will need it because these startups are really, really awesome. I spoke to them, to several of them earlier, as amazing founder, which is Constantin. Hello. How are you?
Hello. Thank you very much for having me and having Smove.City. It's highly appreciated. I'm looking forward to the pitch.
Oh, yeah, we appreciate having you here because I think we haven't had a founder with as much of a background as you have. It's really, really good.
Okay. I mean, I'm taking all the opportunities, so thank you.
Very branded. So try to share your screen.
All right. So please do tell me if you can see my screen.
Yes.
And all right. So
as soon as you start talking, your time starts. You know the drill. 3 minutes, and yeah, the stage is yours.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much for having me. I will go into Smove.City and what we do. So Smove.City actually started as a bike share company. But after a while, we saw that if you really want to solve the whole mobility problem, we should not only stick to providing the mobility solution, but also the data. Because at this point, cities don't have access to data. There's a lot of mobility operators, and cities now want to have policies or create no-go zones, but these operators don't share any data. So what Smove.City does is we created a mobility data platform on top of the bike share that we provide. So we are business to government. So in our mobility platform, cities have the Mobility Explorer, for example. So they have access to all the public transit operators in the world. At this point, we have 2,500 mobility operators. They can create geofences. They can create no-go zones for operators. They can visualize the data of traffic, car data, shared mobility data. They can analyze it, but they can also make predictions. This is extremely important in terms of urban planning and also understanding the mobility in their city. So yeah, that's what I just showed. To show you how we are different from others is, as I already mentioned, we are business to government. We go for long contracts, so multi-year contract.
And our unique selling point is the mobility platform on top of the bike share. And we are business to government, but also the bikes are used by the people, so B2C. The city pays for us to operate, and we have exclusive contracts for the term of the whole period. At this point, we are launching in the Czech Republic, actually, in Trebek and in Rykani. We have a paid pilot with Trebek, and we are actually raising funds to support our other ongoing contract talks. So I want to talk a little bit about how we came to the whole idea of Smove.City. So we really started by talking to people who are going through with this issue. So city admins who have issues of not being able to make regulations for operators. So that's how we validated through different feedback loops with cities. Then we did some mock-ups and designs. After that, we tested it with a small pilot in Greece. And then we kept on doing iterations until the product was ready. And basically, Smove.City platform is made by cities and for cities. And this is also something that you will see if you have some time afterwards in our tractions, because we have a lot of tractions. Unfortunately, we don't have a big team. So yeah, as I mentioned, we are really trying to raise funds to support on our signed contracts, because we have signed contracts, but it's a bit difficult with the small team that we have. So the traction is a lot. And the value that we can bring is also validated. To give you an example, a real life example, for example, if you look at the bike share of Budapest, as you can see, they started with the whole concept of the bike share in 2008, and they had to do research, and they only launched in 2014. If they would have used the Smove.City mobility platform, they would have had access to all this data and all this research in an instant. So we would have saved them more than 7 years and a lot of money. So the value of the platform is really high, and it's in high demand as well, as is shown in our traction. I try to keep it short, so I think this is the end of my pitch. But actually, since I have some time, I want to do a live demo. I hope you don't mind. So for example, this is the real-time data of the bike share. So this is a bike share in Norway. And as you can see, you have every 10 seconds it's updated. So you have like people using the bikes. And of course, you have data of the stations. We have heat maps. And I want to show you one thing as well, the Mobility Explorer. Yes, so this is 2,500 public transit operators over the whole world. And you can play around with this data. You can look at the routes of these public operators. For example, for example, in Paris, let's have a look. So you have all this information. You can have info on the times and so on, but also my internet is a bit slow, but you can also analyze the routes and things like that. So it's really giving a real overview on mobility for cities. So that was the pitch. Thank you very much for your attention, and I am looking forward to feedback, but also to your questions.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. In the beginning, I was like, is this a pitch or is this a full HBO level movie? It looked like with all the animation, it looked very, very.
Well, I only have 3 minutes, so I have to make the best out of it. So.
Absolutely. So, but it's not up to my opinion, because I am not the sustainability expert here, but we do have two sustainability experts. The first one of which, again, is Silke. So Silke, feedback, questions.
Well, it's an extremely interesting proposal because we have seen bike sharing systems a lot, and it's actually nothing new anymore. So to enter new space here is very difficult. But data is actually the key important thing to, let's say, resolve mobility problems in big cities. So my question would be, my large question would be, what was the interest and how many cities are you cooperating based on this? Did it give you also an advantage for entering your bike sharing system, for example? And how do you collect data on biking then before you enter the city? That would be also interesting to know, because you gave the example of Budapest, but I'm not sure to which extent there was bike sharing before actually, but it might be the case. So how did you get this data? Because I think it's a great thing for decision making. And my small question still, I was a bit surprised, which small cities would you contact in the Czech Republic? Why is this the case?
Well, I did I did analysis before starting. So the biggest demand came from the Czech Republic. So that's how I started the business development and validating the idea. And it turned out that the highest demand is actually in the Czech Republic. And Klepek is our first signed contract. Rybka is the second. The city of Prague really contributed a lot of feedback in building this platform, because they had some issues with Lime and other operators. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of demand in the Czech Republic. It's our biggest market at this point. Mm-hmm. And to answer your other big question, maybe I should start by telling a little bit about myself. I have been in mobility for over 5 years. I helped launch Uber in Brussels, Belgium. I started my first B2B electric scooter company, was in Saudi Arabia, and signed a European Parliament contract. And there I saw that just having electric scooters doesn't really solve the mobility, the general mobility issue. And I realized that the real way to solve the issue is if you have access to the data, if the city has access to the data, because they are the ones who have to regulate it. And of course, data only makes sense and is only valuable if you can add other data sets. So because the cities already have other data sets, we add these other data sets, and that's how we can have a societal impact. And that's how we can have a real impact on the people's lives and improving people's lives. Because if we add data from Vodafone, for example, or data from Waze, then we can really do great things for the city, and we can really have a real impact. But if you just put electric bikes, you might solve the movement from A to B, but you don't really solve the general mobility issue, because it has to do with urban planning, the way cities are designed. So if you really want to have a real impact, I think you need to focus on data, and that is what we are trying to do right now. I'm not sure if I was able to answer your question, because...
Or just tell me how many cities do you have contracts already?
To Klepek and the Czech Republic, and Rybka.
But in other countries?
We did a small test in Livadia in Greece to validate our idea, but also to mention, we are in business to government. Usually contracts take up to a year. I started this company in January 2020, and already in February, at the end of February, I already had an agreement with Rybka, because they had already seen our mock-ups, basically because other cities were talking about it in the Czech Republic, about our solution, because they really they built our solution, basically.
Well, let's talk a little bit more sometimes.
Thank you very much.
Let's have a coffee.
Okay, looking forward to it.
Yes, wonderful solution. I love biking. I'm biking all the time here in Prague. Big fan. And also, besides my startup, I'm also a member of the Smove.City committee in Prague. So I would love to have you there next time. Maybe pitch your solution. So come back to me via LinkedIn, and we can get in touch.
I would love to. And can I add one more thing? Because we adjust a lot in our way, the way we do business. And due to the corona, we started engaging the people. So what we do now is we engage the local community. So we can build geofences around a restaurant. And when a biker enters that geofence, he gets a push notification saying, if you stop your bike there and show your codes when you purchase a coffee at this restaurant or whatever, you get a 10% reduction on your next ride. So we engage the community, and we also support the local economy that way.
Yeah, I love it. It's a completely different approach because
we are raising funds right now to help us launch more cities. I can show you the contracts. I can show you the traction. I'm willing to show everything you want.
The design thinking approach is very, very important. Congratulations, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fine.
Thank you.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.
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 Okay. So that is 2 pitches down, and coming back to what was meant to be our pitch number 2, Sophia, hopefully now without technical issues.
Yes. Let's give it another go. Share.
And our prayers have been answered. Fantastic.
Right. Let's just go full screen mode.
So full screen mode, and you know the drill. 3 minutes on the clock, and as soon as you start talking, the floor is yours. And
great.
Fingers crossed.
Thanks. So we've all heard about climate change, but perhaps you don't know that our homes are one of the largest contributors to global warming emissions in the UK. That's how we live in them, heat them, and more importantly, how we build them. To combat climate change, we all need to be evolving our homes by using environment-friendly building products and practices. Problem is, most of us do not know how to do this. Yes, we can look at books and websites. There are e-commerce sites made for professionals where you can buy green products from manufacturers. They are often complicated, outdated, and uninspiring. But they shouldn't be. They do not need to be. This is where Igolo comes in. We are a one-stop learn, shop, design, and deliver hub based in London. We promote sustainability by making it easier for customers to renovate their homes. Igolo's online platform will empower users. It will give them the tools, knowledge, and inspiration needed to use sustainable materials and methods. It will provide a curated marketplace of eco-materials and products for a home renovation project, plus an easy-to-understand rating system showing how sustainable a product is. Alongside this, Igolo will offer an architectural design service with sustainability at its heart. We can achieve our goals with this 2-track approach. The online platform will help promote and accelerate the design services by attracting more clients, while also offering the design team resources and contacts for Igolo's projects. The 2 business lines will reinforce each other and together make Igolo a competitive player in the field of sustainable home design. The general home improvement market in the UK is huge, with pressures to meet our net zero carbon emissions target in the UK by 2050. The green building materials market is set to expand rapidly. There is already a growing awareness to achieve a more sustainable design. A survey I conducted suggests many people want to be green, but few know how to go about it. Through just this one survey, I attracted my first 5 customers for my design services, and now demand is outstripping my capacity to do the work. Meanwhile, my Instagram following and website subscribers continue to grow. We are currently testing out options for the first prototype to transform Igolo's current website into a fully functioning marketplace. Here we aim to take a small commission from online sales. With 2 revenue streams, the architectural service plus online product sales, Igolo can break even within the first 12 months. Currently, the team is made up of myself, the founder of Igolo, working on both the platform development and design services. My associate Florence is a scientist and is working on Igolo's green assurance rating system. And Amina is our coder. He's currently working on the MVP development. I'm determined to make Igolo a game-changing business which will help homeowners choose a more sustainable path to home renovation and building. I'm happy to answer any questions, and if you know anyone involved in sustainable building industry, I would be interested in making further contacts. Thank you for listening.
Beautiful, beautiful pitch. Love it. Unfortunately, the rest of you guys do not know Sophia's full story. She recently went through a wonderful program we have in the UK, and seeing the progress she's made over these past few months has been absolutely outstanding. But less of this, more of direct feedback. So again, Silke, Cyril, feedback and question, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Sophia. Great presentation. And if you would define your company, do we see you more on the consultancy side, or is the marketplace the main focus of your project in the future? What's your vision? What do you want to build?
Well, initially it's sort of focusing on this marketplace. And sort of my view is that as the marketplace grows and targets homeowners, then also the architectural service on the side, together it's sort of this power sort of partnership where we've got all the information from the marketplace. We're also designing houses for people, and from that can develop sort of a consultancy as well.
Okay, so given this fact, the marketplace is the focus. How do you build this? Where do we see the most important first early adopters to get subscribed? Question business model. What is the business model behind? But I suppose you have some subscription model or a transaction fee or whatever. But whom do you want to get first on this marketplace?
So I think initially how we're going to build it is we're currently sort of looking at Amina's starting to sort of code the marketplace. Simultaneously, we're working on sort of the blog, which is my current website, as well as sort of the Instagram platform. And at the moment, I'm just sort of getting in conversation with suppliers who are open to coming onto the marketplace. But I think initially at the moment, it's sort of getting that first MVP sort of in working order to then attract suppliers and manufacturers to be on there.
Okay, so in which stage are you now right now? You're still designing the MVP, I guess.
Yeah, currently still designing the MVP, yeah. I think one of our next steps is to contact sort of Bath University. I think they've been doing quite a lot of research on sort of embodied carbon of building materials. So it's also working with them to figure out how best to kind of give that green assurance rating. Yeah, because we're not going to be testing materials in a lab. It's just taking what we can from the manufacturers and being able to break that down into digestible, easy format for homeowners to understand.
Okay, so and who would run home renovations? Is it a B2C market, or is it building companies who are doing actually the reconstruction?
No, it's focusing on B2C, because I think that's what the main issue is that so many of us homeowners are just unaware what to do with their home. Everyone sort of assumes that it's solar panels and ground source heat pumps, ways to kind of improve energy efficiency, but a lot of it also comes down to the materials that we use, what insulation are you putting in your home, what cladding, what's the structure of your extension, and so on.
And they definitely need some kind of consultancy here because, for normal people, it's very difficult to choose the right material if they don't have a clear idea what they want, So I think the consultancy part would be extremely important.
For sure. I think initially it's going to start more as sort of interior design, so how you decorate your home. So kind of giving a platform for sustainable furniture companies, tiles for your bathroom, paint for your walls, starting with sort of smaller products, which people shop for all the time. On the side of that, it's obviously the sustainable architectural services, which I'm currently doing as an architect. And that's actually, providing sort of the full design service for my clients.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sophia. Super needed, since, as you mentioned, 42% of the CO2 is responsible for the construction business. Also, roughly 50 to 60% of all the waste is generated in construction business. Are you also plan to help company with the end phase of the housing, the selective demolition, how to do it properly, or you will more focus? Are you kind of like I said it? You will more focus, I guess, from the interior design, and then you'll move all the way.
Yeah, I think the idea came from wanting to sort of promote building materials. Like we all, go to sort of steel, bricks and glass. It's like trying to move away from that. What other materials are out there that are more eco-friendly? That's sort of the goal, to kind of head towards that. But I sort of imagine it's easier to start on sort of interior design before, building materials.
Yeah. Good luck. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Good luck.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for the encouraging words, Silke and Cyril. And Sophia, thank you, of course, for your amazing, amazing pitch. And with that, actually, we were meant to have 4 startups. However, we will close the show a bit earlier, for unfortunately, the last founder hasn't arrived due to some complications. So the show ends a bit earlier. I hope you guys are not too angry at myself or Startup Disrupt, because we did not intercept this. However, I want to thank you for attending. I think today was extremely, extremely valuable, a event to truly propel you. And as I love to say, this is sort of my whole spiel about pouring rocket fuel into your startup or whatever project you are working on by obtaining high-level knowledge from founders and experienced people from within the industry. And I think in this sort of point of view, today's event was incredibly useful and incredibly successful, because we've had 2 great panels, a bunch of great pitches from startups that are basically creating the future of what it means to do green tech or be sustainable. And I think that if you yourself are trying to get into this industry, there was a lot of great insight shared. And primarily, I want to thank you for having the courage to move into this gravely needed industry, because what you are doing, or what you will do as you soon move into green tech and sustainability, will shape the future of our world. And with those very emotional, very motivational words, I'd like to close today's evening. Thank you for attending, and hopefully see you soon at another wonderful Startup Disrupt event.